February 13th, 2023, Sylvania Board of Education meeting to order. Call the roll.
Ms. Hoffman?
Here.
Mrs. Conklin?
Here.
Mrs. Lavalette?
Here.
Mr. Feller?
Here.
Mrs. Johnson?
Here. Okay, stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we are going to start out the evening with a presentation.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Carla Spangler, who serves as our Director of Secondary Education, specifically Teaching and Learning here in Sylvania Schools. And this afternoon, or evening, I should say, Carla is going to do a presentation on career exploration, and more specifically, an advisor position that we would like to bring to Sylvania Schools, funded through some grant dollars. I know that as board members and attending OSBA, and with the last couple of years, or if you're new to the board, you know there is a strong push across the state of Ohio to engage students in career education and roles and positions and occupations that will actually feed into the pipeline of careers here in Ohio, as well as outside and nationally and abroad. But we are focused on what we can do to meet the employment needs here, not only for our students, but for industry locally here in Lucas County. So I've asked Carla to come tonight to talk about the career exploration advisor and what that role would look like to help develop programs and, most importantly, opportunities for our students. So with that, I loaded up a lot, Carla. I think I captured most of it.
I think you're done. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the presentation.
I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you for being here this evening.
You're welcome. Good evening, everyone. So I want to start by saying I think we have an idea that will cost me money for education, but will not cost you money as taking it out of the board budget. So we talk about ensuring that our students are future ready. But you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't think walking across the stage means we've done our job. Our job is when we know that our students are future ready, that they know everything that's out there and they're prepared to go that route, whether it's industry, whether it's military, whether it's college. So with that said, I think we have a why and a how. So what is our why? A career exploration advisor. So in my opinion, that person would fall under the Director of Secondary Teaching and Learning for two reasons. One, because I don't think they should be a standalone. I think we should continue to collaborate and work together. And two, because I don't want it to look like this is a career tech job, but it's a career exploration. So you're exploring everything, again, from military to industry to college. And many industry today, the ones I've been to the last 2 weeks, every one of them say, we will pay for your college education. So I think that is so important for our students today. I don't care if you have a lot of money or little money, it helps not to pay for that college education. So with that, in the state of Ohio, we are supposed to be educating students in careers K through 12. The big push obviously is 6 through 12, but it's supposed to be K through 12. This is your Sylvania Schools, your career advising policy. You update it every couple years, but it says in it that we are doing advising K through 12. So I just thought I'd let you know, if you haven't read it lately, you don't have to read it tonight. With that said, I think we need to begin at the beginning with our students, the beginning meeting in kindergarten. Do I think we should tell them everything in kindergarten? No, I don't think we should. But I think one time each year, they should be exposed to careers. Now, we brought this up to the counselors, and ironically, one of the counselors said, my students get that in my building. And the others looked around and said, we don't. So across the board, some elementaries are doing some bring these careers in and see the kids. And I know we've talked about fire trucks, we've talked about nurses, we've talked about police, And that's a great start, and that's fine for students to start there. But we just need to be a little more intentional on who they're seeing and what we're exposing them to from the beginning. We're not picking any paths, we're not asking them to pick any paths, but we're exposing them to what's out there. Then, in grades 4 and 5, I believe that they should see 2 of the pathways, each one of the quarters. So within 2 years, they would see all 16 pathways. Again, the pathways, let's just say the medical field. The medical field, if we think about it, if you're in kindergarten or first grade, you automatically think doctor or nurse. If you brought in the president of ProMedica right now, he would name another 20 things that you can do in the medical field. So what's important is students start to realize, I don't have to get my doctorate, I don't have to be in school 8 years to work in the medical field. Again, if you talk to Mercy right now and you start out in their field, they will help pay your way to finish your education. So those are things I think students should be aware of and have an idea of what all is in that pathway. So that would be K through 5. Then starting in 6th grade, and you guys I think already know that we do things in 6th, 7th, and 8th. We have our STEM classes and we have our interactive technology classes that are doing student profiles and they're doing student interest inventories. I can tell you right now that I took a student around one of our career programs today from another district, and this child has no idea what he wants to do in the future. And I said, has anybody done a career interest survey with you? His dad said, I don't even know what that is. So this child is going to be a junior next year, has no idea what he wants to do, and has no idea what's even out there. We do the student profile and the student interest inventory in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Now, the ones that are in blue, if I wasn't here and I was over on the computer, those are all meant for you to open if you'd like to open them in your leisure when you're just sitting around the house. Ohio Means Jobs has a specific website that you can go through, and they have a backpack that our kids in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade actually open the backpack and look at different careers. And that's all free and it's all available to students. Then the other one is Career Pathways. That will show you the 16 Ohio career pathways and what's available to students. Everything from starting out in industry or starting out from college or going to the military and getting your education that way. So it's all on those websites. Then in 9 through 12, these are all the things legally we should be doing. Our students should be coming to us in high school with a career plan. Again, that doesn't mean they can't change their plan, but it means the high school counselors are starting to develop their coursework according to their plan. So it's a shame when our students graduate and go to college and they've missed the science class or they've missed the math class because we didn't know what their true intentions were, so we just put them in a pathway along the way. So if those career plans start in 7th and 8th grade and move with the child to the high school, you had a better idea of what they want to do and what direction we should be leading them. They have the college options now, they have so many options, they have apprenticeship options, they have internships options. So we need to have a better idea of what they want to do, and we only get that idea by showing them everything that's available. Yeah.
Question. So are these things you're saying we should be doing or we are doing?
Some we are, some we should. Like we're starting the career plans, but we're starting them at the high school level. We have no intentional program starting 6th, 7th, and 8th. A lot of schools have a file that just moves with the student to the high school, whether it's electronic or paper copy. So the high school counselor doesn't start out by saying, what do you want to be when you grow up and what does that 4-year plan look like? It moves with the child. Some smaller schools started in kindergarten and start handing out the child, what do you want to do this year? What do you want to do next year? For us, if we could get a good start in the junior high and moving on to the high school, I think the students would have many more opportunities. And I know some students start in 7th and 8th grade. We don't have a lot to offer in 7th and 8th grade. I'm not sure social, emotional, a lot of kids are ready 7th and 8th grade, but they're definitely ready in high school.
I mean, wouldn't, so like let's say 6th grade, you know, Tammy's my counselor and she's like, what are you interested in? I'm like, I want to be a doctor. And by 9th grade, That's a big difference between the sixth grade kid and the ninth grade kid, so wouldn't that conversation have to happen again anyway? Because now Jill's my ninth grade counselor, and she's like, oh, you wanna be a doctor, and so she's focusing there,
If
because
we-
she's got that paper in front of her, the electronic file.
If we were following the letter of the law right now, according to ODE, each student would meet with their counselor on a one-on-one and a parent each school year to review their career plan. Now, obviously, a school this size, what we do is we meet with a group of students, they come up with their ideas, we send the ideas home, and the parent signs off. But wouldn't it be nice at the junior high level if we had that started and we had an advisor who could meet with each one of you individually and talk about what you want to be? And let's say you said, yes, I do want to be a doctor. And I look at all your grades so far and they're C's, and I'm thinking, you're not going to get in the medical profession. But what am I going to say to you? These are your 20 opportunities in the medical profession. Let's look into those. And if you look at that Ohio Means Jobs website, it shows you all the opportunities, how much you can make, and where those jobs are available. Because that's the other thing, you know, a girl today said to me, I want to be a forest ranger. We did the Shape, what was it called? Amazing Shape.
Oh, yeah.
And we did the second round of interviews today. She said, I want to be a forest ranger. And I said, where do you want to do that? And she said, I don't know, I have no idea. So I was talking to her about Jackson, Wyoming, and what you can do out there. So those are the kind of things that you could explore with students if you had the time.
And this is a position you want us to bring in, right? Okay, so we have, what, 1,800 kids in our junior high school? How's one person gonna meet with all of these kids in the school year?
Well, what happens right now is in our media and in our STEM programs, you break it down to now we have 25, 30 students at a time. So if you took a day and you just started to go through them and then, you know, if this was your only focus, that you didn't worry about anything else all day, I think you could make quite an impact. Plus, once they get to high school, if you make that impact, they have a one-on-one counselor now. So then you can keep it going. Now, true, they have 150 students, but you still have that groundwork laid. And I think, you know, is it everything we need? Maybe not, but maybe it's a start. Maybe it's more than what we're doing right now. Because we really have no opportunities right now.
I mean, because now we have like 2 counselors in each junior high, so
Mhm.
300 students each. You're talking about one person for 3 junior high schools, so it's.
And maybe that one
1,800
person will
so.
support the counselor, because now that counselor is doing a little bit of time in the career awareness and all the rest of their time with all the other counseling duties. Plus, our IT people are also, they're the ones that are actually doing the inventory and the profile. It's coming right out of their classwork. So this for you, since Julie, since you brought it up, this is actually a template that ODE has made up that if a board or a group of people, whoever, wants to update what you're doing in your own district, you can actually go through that step by step and say, this is what we're doing, this is what we could do, this is what we should add. So you could actually piecemeal, what are the best parts, what could we do at this time, and then you could add to it if you really wanted to dive into it and see what more we could do. So how can we do it? This is what I think, and I've talked to Adam about this, which I had no idea. I went to a meeting in Columbus and talked to a lot of people on how they were spending their Carl Perkins money. And a lot of people are already using their money to do reports, to do data for career programs with students. So I really think I actually have Oregon Clay's, the way they wrote up their grant, so I know the verbiage that they use, and they're using their Carl Perkins money for that. So Adam, we have
124,000.
We have 124,000, so we could hire a person, not by using all that money, and then like have enough, so each year, if they get a raise, we would still have enough money. Now you're asking me, why would I give up Carl Perkins money? At least I would ask that if I was you. So let me just say that I've used the money and I've updated almost all of our career programs right now. The ones that have needed, most of the computer programs are updated, Cosmetology, we bought new stations. So we've gone around, I have one more program that I'm updating yet this year. I worked with Mark, we did a lot of programs at Northview. So we did use Carl Perkins money, but if we're strategic with the other money, Career Tech money that we get each year, you don't have that number like just off the tip of your tongue.
How much we're gonna get next year?
What do we have right now in all of our Career Tech money minus Perkins?
I don't have that off the top of my head.
We get enough to live on. Let me just tell you that I could, because it's hard to spend Carl Perkins money and stay within their guidelines. So if we could stay in one guideline and get it approved each year, because you can't use it for something that a school should typically buy themselves. So I can't buy a school desk. So I can't buy anything that a typical teacher would buy. It has to be to upgrade a program. So since our programs are pretty much updated right now, I think with the money we bring in from the, for the district and the way now the state is looking at vocational money, I think we'd be in good shape to spend the money this way, and I think it would put you in compliance with what we should be doing with career advising. So with that, I kind of laid out a job description, and Julie, like you said, I know it would be a lot of work for whoever does the job. K-5, pretty easy, see the students a little bit, not a lot. 6-8 would be bigger, but again, you could work with the counselors who are already doing part of this job with the teachers in their building. We would have a true career plan, a true graduation plan for students, and then they would work with the Career Tech teachers. Again, they would work under this director, so this director's job wouldn't change that much, other than to support what they're doing.
I have a couple of questions.
Ready?
First, what is Carl Perkins money typically, are there limitations on how that is supposed to be used?
There are so many limitations.
So many.
It's very strict, it's very career oriented, I'll just tell you. It has not, like if I need a social studies textbook and you were absolutely broke in the district and needed that textbook, I couldn't use Carl Perkins money. It's earmarked exactly for career plans, and then it's also, for instance, I can't buy anything with 4 wheels. Now you would think, I need that in horticulture. Let's just say, I needed to move equipment. Nope, you can't. So everything is very tightly used, but I think this would fall right into their expectations.
Really no consumable supplies, where you would think supplies, materials to help, supplement a program, like that's not.
What's the funding source on that? Where's that coming from?
Essentially the federal government, through the state.
And what would be the approximate cost of this position that you'd like to fill?
I mean, ideally, we would like to leave a little bit, not spend it all on this salaries and benefits, so we can deal with some growth in the future years of the salary and benefits, but also if we do need to supplement some of it with supplies.
I mean, how much would it cost to hire somebody to do this? Any sense of what the salary requirements would be?
We thought it'd be administrative. I thought maybe it'd be the same as a elementary assistant principal. I don't
So
know.
it's at 95,000? How many days?
86.
86 or 89. Benefits, that's another.
Yeah, 30%, roughly 30%, which is all your insurances, all your retirement, everything.
So is that the entry-level administrative? Okay.
I don't think they need to be a 12-month. I think they could either be 9-month or, extended week before and after.
Is the Carl Perkins money, is that something we get yearly?
Yes.
Yeah.
How much do we get a year?
Right now, this year it's 124,252.
So that's something we get every year?
Okay, I have a question about that. Do we typically use all of Carl Perkins money every year, or are we leaving some on it? Are we generally using it?
I don't know what they did last year.
I tried
I
to
would
use it, but
assume.
last year we did because we updated, 5 programs at
Yeah.
Northview?
Absolutely.
We really haven't done any update in the Career Tech programs. I don't know the last time, so we got brand new computers in the computer labs. We really did some updating of all the programs.
So would we be giving up doing things in the future with that money if we do this?
The thing is, if all of our programs needed updating tomorrow, I would say yes. But now if we start updating on a 3-year, 5-year basis, I would say no. I would say we could budget it out of our career money and make sure we budget it accurately. And then, no, I don't think it would hurt any of the other programs.
And I think, Carla, to add to that, what we would do is we look at our programs on a rotation.
Yes.
So you know that in 4 or 5 years, horticulture, you're up. It's not trying to do everything at once, but we would budget and have a rotation plan, like a preventative maintenance plan for
Yeah.
programs.
We've fallen far behind, and now I think we're caught up to where we should be. There is some money coming out only for programs that are right in the area, that are going right into industry, which would be like John Austin, because he does a lot of machining and welding. But that's gonna be money that is a grant coming from the state if Governor DeWine, if all that goes through. So if that would happen, that would be something entirely different that we would have, because the one thing that we would like to use that would put us at equal with First Solar, because they're hiring a lot of our students, is a $360 robotic project. So that's obviously something we could never afford, but through them it's a possibility, so we'll see how that goes. But really, if this isn't up to date, I don't think ODE would look at us for more funding.
Okay, so back to just the upkeep of all the programs. So in the past, we've never had like a regular, I'm gonna call it maintenance plan to keep our programs updated, right?
Not that I know
Not that we-
Okay.
Not since I.
Not that we found, we did
Okay.
that, but not that
But that's something we'll implement going forward, right?
we happened, absolutely.
Especially we need to for our computer programs, because
Right.
working with industry, we were behind, and so we were putting kids out that weren't prepared, and now we're up to date, so we're in good shape there.
And I think it would be fair to say that, when we made the $1 million, the funds back in 2010 when we did the levy, like a lot of things stopped.
Yeah.
I mean, now you weren't doing any updating, you're just trying to
Maintain.
maintain, and that takes a long time too. So I think, yes, that it probably was, I don't think any of us, were here when I was brand new here when that happened. It was really shocking.
And one of the things that we've actually heard, we've had the opportunity to meet with many folks in Sylvania and the Sylvania area about what they would like to see in our graduates. And one of the things that they emphasize is to make sure our students are exposed to industry standard type software, type computers, so that when they do walk across the stage and go for a job, if they're using the same programs you're using, if they want to be a paralegal, we're exposing them to that. We're exposing them to CAD programs that you're using in your office, opposed to things that are maybe not as up to date. Because they want to employ kids now. As in high school, they want to employ them now, ready to go.
And
Which
some
you
of our
know.
computers were so
So
old, we
you-
couldn't
right.
put the new apps on them. So we had to get the new computers, to go with the new apps.
Right, I mean, things change a lot, and I guess I still have the question about how much of the Carl Perkins money we leave on the, table every year, because it sounds like I am not good at math, but with the, numbers were thrown out about salary, that there's like $10,000 left after salary and benefits, retirement, maybe 9,000?
No, probably.
10,000?
Yeah, probably 10 to 15.
So that, I mean, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to this, I'm just, if
Sure.
we're using that 124,000
Yeah,
each year
but-
for other
and I-
things, that's gotta be absorbed somewhere, right?
So right
Good.
now, it's sitting there. For this school year, it's sitting there.
We have no plans for it then?
Because, I'm going to update the one more computer classroom that hasn't been updated, because we want it to look like an office instead of like a school classroom. So we have that one to do, and the new computers, we ordered 2 sets of computers for 2 different classrooms, and one we're just finishing up with. But other than that, probably 40,000-50,000 that's still sitting there this year,
That's what's left right now, for your 15, you still have these updates.
No, that's what.
It's after.
After
That's
that,
after. After.
There'll be 40 or 50 left.
do we get carryover?
Yeah.
So that money that we didn't spend this year would roll over to next year.
We spent it all last.
We spent it all last
But
year.
this year,
But if we have
but you
40
said you
left
have
this
40
year,
on the table this
that'll roll
year.
over to next year.
To next year.
Okay. How long does it roll over? Do you have to use it? You get one?
I don't know that.
Okay.
I know that we've gotten a bump every year, you know, a little bit more money from them every year. But obviously, I don't know if that'll always continue,
Right.
but
Carryover is not permitted.
Oh, it's not.
We've spent to date 72,000. So,
Are you gonna be able to use that 40 for something by the end of the year?
I will.
yeah,
So we're gonna use it all this year.
yeah.
And so
But I think
is
it-
it typical that we use it all?
Yeah, I mean, last year we spent 112. So our grant, the funding went up from 112 to 124 this year. So,
And the number of the dollars are allocated based on students in the program? How do, because I'm thinking about the feds with the other stuff.
Well, and that's the other thing, that we had some out-of-date programs that weren't renewed on time last year. So that will be extra student money that will be coming in on the career side. So that's extra money on the career side. The Perkins side, I think, is your ADM.
ADM, and then I believe it's divided by all kids with Carl Perkins within the state, so it's one pot of money divided up
Right, the districts.
to the districts, yeah.
Thank you.
So I just want you to think about it. I just didn't want to take any more money out of your budget, but think I have money in my budget if you want to go that route. And if the job description is too big, you know, we could always narrow that down to a workable job description. But I think no matter what you do, it will also make this job, when you're in the hiring process, I think this job is more marketable to the community if you have both of these put together. So, thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
I don't know who this goes. This goes to someone.
Joe.
Goes to Joe.
Does he need to log on?
I think he's already in there.
Yeah, no, he just needs to exit out of this and then open his.
All right.
Window down, window open.
Thank you so much.
Adam, did you pick up the clicker?
Yeah.
Do you want to say this?
No.
Okay.
Kevin Carr taking bullets, you want to go?
That's right, that's right. Thank you. For those that don't know me, my name is Joe Shaw. I'm the Deputy Service Director for the City of Sylvania. I see some familiar faces in here, maybe a couple new ones. So we were last in front of this board, April 25th of last year. And at the time, we came to talk to you about the Monroe and Silica project that's coming up this construction season. So a lot of that was just prepare. This is the roadway project, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing to the bridge. It was very much nuts and bolts about what the project consisted of. We've made all our way through this project, it's fully designed, we've acquired all the right-of-way that we need for it, and we are ready for construction. So before we get to that step, we have worked really hard with Mark Pugh, with Northview, with Chief Miller and the police department, with Sylvania Township Fire on how best do we manage Northview when this bridge is out. So it's a key component to this project. How do we make this plan work? So that's what we started in December after we got through all the right-of-way acquisition process. We met once before Christmas, we met again after Christmas and kind of, I'm gonna say solidified this plan, but came up with a plan that we think will work both for the arrival and for the dismissal of the school. So that's what we want to talk about today, and that's what we want to present to you. Okay, so there's obviously two phases. I may wander up a little bit just to do some pointing, unless this thing has a finger on it, but I'm a little better with my hands. So obviously when the bridge is out, the bridge is up here, Northview campus is here, Lord's is in the middle. So when the bridge is out, we can't come obviously from the north, right? Everything has to funnel in from the south, which means Convent, Silica, Brent, Maine. That's all of the orange lines that are on that slide. How we do that outside of specifically Northview's campus is with police assistance. We got little badges here at the Convent Silica intersection. We have one at Maine and Convent as well. So during arrival, back real quick. During arrival, we will work with Sylvania Police to try to help those intersections move better, get cars moving, get them going in the right direction with police assistance. So that's kind of the zoomed out view of the assistance that we'll provide. As we move to the arrival plan, there's a couple of different colors that are on the map here. And what we kind of came up with was an overarching roundabout. Roundabouts move in a counterclockwise feature. Let's get people moving in a counterclockwise feature around campus and try to manage it from there. So all traffic comes in from the bottom. This is Lord's down here, obviously the school, the ball fields. So everybody is going to come in. This driveway is closed. This driveway is closed, and everybody's going to come around to the front to that central location, the last driveway that you can enter before you would cross over the bridge and go that way. Okay? So buses will come that way, parents will come that way, students will come that way. Okay? So once it gets here, police assistance here to make sure that we keep that closed off. We don't want people migrating their way in there. We want everybody to have a uniform kind of pattern as they enter the site. Once they get here, it's kind of a flow splitter. Okay? Red, you can go around. Red, you can go around in the clockwise feature. We'll talk about the red box here in a minute. But you can come all the way around if you're a student and park as normal as you need to in here. If you're a bus, you're going to split this way and you're going to do your drop off around the front of the building. Okay? Again, with police assistance, providing help as we need to make sure people are going the correct way. Okay? Zooming into that red box up at the top. So parents that are going to drop their kids off and students who are going to park are all going to use this common entrance around this way. We'll do another flow splitter here. Drop-offs will be in this zone with barrels and cones that we'll have staked out for that, getting people moving to the right direction to the left if you're going to drop off. If not, you're going to go all the way around to the side and park where you normally would park. Calling that kind of our parent drop-off zone.
I think that if I could just interject, that I feel really good, having been the Highland principal and taken so many kids out of the carpool line, that most likely that will be my position during this project every day. As we have preschoolers who are coming in and managing some of that traffic. So Ray and I were talking about that today. So I think we've got a good plan for that we're going to be communicating out to everyone.
Okay, so that's arrival. I don't want to paint a rosy picture, right? This is not going to be magical.
You're thinking, this is a nightmare, Mark's gonna quit. Everybody's leaving.
Love that stuff.
There's
Out there.
There's 100% no doubt about it that first week will be a training week, right?
It's a nightmare there without them.
Right.
I think, once again, I think as parents as well as educators, we often pray for patience. And we've just been given an opportunity now to be very patient. And to have that be put to the test right now. I'm
I'll tell
sorry?
you what, my kids were at Northview, and before they got a license and drove, here was me. I would be there to pick you up at 2:45, because I'm not dealing with any of that, and they were all open. Like, I always made them, I'm like, there's no way I'll be there at
Absolutely.
2:25.
So will there be signs? I'm worried about the non-school traffic. People are like, oh, I cut up this way to go to the library. I mean, are we making sure people know you don't have to go to Northview, don't come down here? I mean, we're gonna have people coming around the building that don't need to be there.
If they can't, they won't be able to get to the library or anything.
No.
Right, so, but then you won't realize it's all crap, now I gotta go into the drop-off line in Northview, and I don't need to do that, so.
Is there gonna be a stop sign at, Convent and Silica, or somebody?
Police officer control.
Okay,
Yeah, that's where our officers will come into
every
play.
morning?
So
There should be a big sign.
there's
posted
sign
back.
Northview traffic only,
And there-
no something, so.
So tomorrow, it's a good question you guys all have. Tomorrow, we're meeting with Mark, we're meeting with Ray, and I'm meeting with my street department. And tomorrow starts just a review of signage. That's all we're gonna do. We're gonna look at the site, what needs pulled, what needs in place. Okay, so that's an effort that starts tomorrow. I can't tell you what signage goes where because we haven't looked at it yet, but that'll start tomorrow.
So the entryway's gonna be a one-way.
Yes. Okay, that's arrival. So dismissal, we think is a little more challenging. Again, everybody's got to leave. So how do you coordinate students and staff and parents and buses all trying to leave this place at the same time? It's a challenge, but I think we have a plan in place that will at least get us pointed in the right direction again with maybe a week of education on, okay, this is how this is going to work. This is what I'm gonna do, okay? So, again, everybody's gotta leave out the bottom, right? You leave through Silica, go to Convent, down Silica, down Main. Police assistance again here. As you're coming down Silica to Convent, you're going this way, you're going this way. Police are telling you which way you need to go. We'll talk about buses in a minute. Okay. So first one, this is a 3-stage leave of the campus. Stage 1 is buses. Those are the first ones that gotta go. They have a timetable. They've got a gazillion different stops that they gotta make for the next 2 hours, right? So they have first priority. They're gonna be the first ones that are dismissed. So this is yellow, right? All of our buses come in here. We're gonna have them double park up here, as much space as they need to fill up the front. Okay? Fill up the buses, they're the first ones to go. They come out Silica with police assistance. We're stopping this. This one is closed. There's really no other way to get out during that quick bustle release. As they come down, I'll go back. Police assistant is getting the buses out here if they're going that way. Police assistance is getting the buses out that way if they go that way. So buses are handled first. Okay. Stage 2 is students. That's red. Will be all of our parked areas in through here. Once those buses are gone, this police officer that's here can say go. We're ready to release kids that are in their car, that are ready to go. They can come out this drive. We want a nice orderly exit that leaves there. Nobody's gonna come back around and leave this way because all of the parents are queued. They're stopped there. They're waiting to do their next phase of the dismissal. Okay. So that's red. We release all the vehicles. Last is student pickup. So we go back to where it was. Any parent who wants to come and pick their kid up is more than welcome to queue through this area and use Silica Drive if they want, but they're not going to go anywhere. They're going to be the last to leave. So that'll be the biggest education piece is when those parents want to show up. They can be there first, but they're not going to go anywhere. So that will be a learning effort that parents will have to do.
Do you have a plan for like when there are activities right after school, so now we have people coming in?
Like, be more specific, like
Sports.
sporting events?
Or baseball game.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, this looks like an hour. This probably will happen in 10 minutes and 15 minutes and it's over.
Okay, I wanna make a bet on that.
Look, I believe me, I don't want to paint a rosy picture for you all. That's not why I'm here. What I will ask for is definitely cooperation,
Yeah.
and that's got to be the key. And it starts here, really, with our board, with us, with Mark and his group. So, like I said, I'm not here to paint rosy pictures. It's going to take education. It's going to take cooperation
And time.
and time. But I don't think this is an hour. This is like a 15-minute release. Those buses are gone in a heartbeat and they're out.
The buses being enough. Are there any concerns about parents, if they do back up into Silica before buses get there? Will there be an issue with buses trying to get in?
So we talked a lot with transportation about that, when buses get there. They get there fairly early, and actually they're probably gonna get there even earlier to avoid that.
Okay.
So instead of it being like, wait 10 minutes, they may wait 15 or 20 minutes in the queue. That way they get their spots.
I don't know what time parents start showing up to pick up.
Pretty early at Northview. I mean, if you go there too, they're sometimes already sitting out in the front and then.
But it's-
they-
And again, we
they
want
just
police
get
here telling people where to go, which is gonna be helpful, so.
But it's-
Parent go over here, buses.
But I suppose that section of Silica is really one way, so
It is.
if the right lane's all
Right.
blocked up, buses could take the left lane and go in.
Exactly.
Alright.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So I noticed you talked about the buses being like double.
Yep.
Will that take away from parking, or are we going to have, because it's either going through the lane, one is by the curb, right, of the school, and then the other is going through the center of where the cars are parked.
Yeah, I think it's whatever Mark's group figures out that they can fit.
So it'll just be in the
Are
driveway.
we talking about the front parking lot, or are you asking if we're losing parking? Is that what you're
Yeah, I think
asking
she's
about?
That's where I'm going.
asking.
Yeah,
Were we gonna have parking at the
because you're gonna,
Francis, whatever it's called now, they used to be
Yeah,
Francis.
so the kids that typically had parked at the lower lot across from Maplewood,
supervision.
we've talked with the Lords and they're gonna be able to park at the Mechanical Center. Having said that, just walking the lot every day, to be honest with you, we really have plenty of parking at Northview. Now, we've got open spots at the softball field almost like every day. So I think that mainly the spots in the front are gonna be taken up by transfer students, but also staff members who arrive typically pretty early. So I don't think that's gonna necessarily be a factor as far as student
What
traffic.
about supervision of the students going through the parking lot to get onto the buses?
Right, I mean, we can absolutely have, a lot of our kids are very independent, but they're coming through every day. I mean, we've got people who are out there, as well as paraprofessionals that are in and out getting kids off of
Because they get
buses.
in the cars, I know they get into the parent pickup lane and they walk
Right.
through, but now you're gonna have
I
buses
mean,
back.
yeah, and like I said, we're gonna be encouraging most of our parent drop-off, which we do have significant amounts. I think, to take a step back for just a minute, we are talking with transportation, and I'm gonna be meeting with student drivers tomorrow, and then we're gonna be having a community meeting for Northview parents on Thursday evening to basically kind of go over some of the protocols for this, but transportation, any of our kids can get a bus at any point. And one of the things that I'm gonna tell the kids is because we're prioritizing our buses getting out, that they may wanna just get on a bus route, because that may be the fastest and most efficient way for them to get in and out, especially for those kids who may have after-school jobs. But those kids that are kind of coming in but parking, I don't think that we're gonna have a problem with the lack of spots.
And are you looking at a staggered release at the end of the school day?
So I don't think it's gonna be a staggered release. I think that what we're gonna do is gonna end regularly, but what the officers will do, and I think where we're gonna be having them stationed, is just stopping the cars from leaving before the buses are clear. So, and what I'm gonna tell kids when I meet with them is I'm gonna say, look, if you wanna hang at Northview for like a little bit of after school for 15 minutes or whatever and just chill in the building, that's cool with me. If you guys go to the parking lot, that's fine, and you guys are just lined up, but you're just gonna have to wait for a little bit, and I think you're just gonna have to be patient. And I think that what I'm gonna explain to our high schoolers, and we've got great kids at Northview, I think they're gonna understand this. We've got to manage the buses so that the junior high can be on time, so the elementary, once again, I remember it at Highland, like waiting for transportation, and it's that cascading effect. We just wanna be as efficient as we can.
So what are you gonna do about the cars in that first arrow, like the second lane of buses not up by the school? Because parents park there and they start parking there so early. I know because that I've been there, like in the building, come out to leave, and I'm blocked by cars and they won't move.
Right.
We're gonna have to have signage.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be part of the
We're gonna
signage
have
piece.
We're gonna have officers
To
at
stop
that
them
point,
from doing it.
especially at the first couple weeks, until we get the parents used to where the queue is to pick up. So it may require an officer to go around saying, you can be in a parking spot, I encourage you to be in a parking spot, but you also have to understand, you're about to get blocked in by a bus. And when that bus leaves, you're gonna have to circle around the building anyways to get out, because the officer that's at that south end, they're gonna be holding up any traffic after the buses that tries to sneak through. We're only gonna be letting it come straight out of the southbound lane, out of the back of the school.
Right, because I'm just
Because
saying,
we
I've
don't
been
wanna
there
get
too,
into a
trying to
pro-
leave, and parents,
Yeah,
they
we
will
do
not let
not
you
wanna
out.
get into a cross-traffic situation on the roadway where we're gonna increase the chances for accidents.
Right.
So, it, again, it's gonna take education, and you're probably gonna see chiefs and captains and whoever I can get out there the first week to help the school out. And the plan is, once we get the education, the public becomes aware, and the parents become aware, this is what we're gonna do, and it becomes a pattern, we'll be able to lessen the amount of people that have to be out there, and it flow smoothly.
I think the parents will figure it out pretty quick.
Well,
It
once
usually
they get
happens.
stuck.
Yeah,
Right, so
it
they'll
usually
let you
happens
do
in
it.
any construction project you do. You set up a plan, and then the first week, it's like people scatter and do what they want. Some try to go through the zone and they hate it, but it takes that initial week of learning, like, okay, this is really how this is gonna work to the end of the school year. And we'll get there. That week is gonna stay. There's no doubt about it, but we'll get there. So. Did you have another question?
What date is this starting?
Yeah, let me,
Start date?
let me see if I finish, can I finish up? Yeah, we got through parent pickup zone, yeah, we got okay. So schedule wise, give you the latest and greatest, we're gonna be advertising, we've already advertised, we sold the project, we're gonna award it at city council on the 21st. Our contractor is Mosier Construction. They've indicated they need to get started as soon as possible. And really, a lot of that is waterway permit driven. So where we're at with our waterway permit, for us to do bridge work inside a creek, there's a gazillion different environmental things that you got to accomplish. Our permit's been submitted. We're on track for a mid-March approval of our waterway permit. So that said, I would say anytime mid-March through the end of March, you probably may see this traffic pattern implemented. So we're about, about a month away.
Spring break, the last week.
will be closed the last week of March.
We are under the gun. The worst thing that we want to do is go into the start of your school year, and that's how this whole plan was predicated. We remember when we talked about, do we want to mess up the back end of a school year or the front end? There was always the back end. So, you know, we are going to be on track to have this bridge open so that it doesn't impact school to start August.
Mark, has any discussion or consideration been given about exam schedule and how we have that flow of kids in and out during exams? And what that would look like, or would it have any implication for that?
You know,
Because we have kids going and coming in late and
we
late.
do. I'm trying to think. I mean, but the kids that are spaced out, it almost would actually be like a staggered arrival to school, if you follow me. It actually might be better
Because we have less kids
during
that are
exam
school.
weeks, because you have, you have some kids, when we run exam schedule, the first day, it's period 1, 2, and 3. Well, if you've got a period 1 study hall, you don't have to come in until period 2. So we may have a significant amount of our student drivers that aren't even coming to school at regular arrival time. See what I
So would
mean?
they still have to follow that same traffic?
I think
pattern?
so, absolutely.
Right.
And I think by that point,
parking lot, the student parking lots, since we don't have the police there,
Right.
those aren't gonna be blocked the whole time. So I can come in through Silica and just go in the back student parking lot
right,
without a problem or an issue.
you could, absolutely,
Okay.
at that point. And I think that we'd have to discuss that once we get close to exam week, whether or not we'd want to change the hours in which we had officers on property.
Okay. Just a thought. I was
Absolutely.
thinking.
I mean, it's something to think about for that staggered schedule.
Well, I'd sort of think it would just be when the buses are there, because
It'll be the
otherwise,
last
in between first and second period and second and third period, there's not that many people
Right.
going, because it
Right.
is really staggered. So it's just when the buses are there and people coming, and, everybody trying to leave.
No, I think you're both correct.
Yeah, I mean, I would seriously be telling people to do what I did when my kids were there, which was, I'm picking you up, you can wait. Why would I set traffic? I'll come in 2:40. When you can walk out, we can drive away.
Absolutely.
Have we also given any thought, and I don't know if this is something to be concerned about or not, but athletics and sports in the spring and those other districts who are coming to us,
Right.
that this is not going to show up on Waze necessarily, right?
No, it probably actually
Will it?
will.
Will
I
it
would
show
look
up
at-
like the traffic pattern where they will have to come in because
Right.
they go in
It's gonna
behind?
show that bridge out.
I think it just depends on their computer routing too,
Sure.
from each school district, because
So should we communicate to our?
our ADs probably will be, I mean, I'm sure that Chris will be letting other ADs know that we've
Chris has
got.
been involved.
Yeah, we've already talked about that with the NHL,
Okay.
so like they know, or the NLO, excuse me.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, NHL, I've got hockey on the mind, so I'm sorry.
So the last point that I'll leave you with before I answer any more questions and stuff was, the other question that I think has come up is what do you do with walkers that are on the north side of the bridge? Like, how do they get to school? Right, so I think what transportation is coming up with is they'll probably do a common point pickup, probably at Maplewood, where if you're a walker and you used to walk over the bridge to get to school, there will probably be a common point at Maplewood where a bus will pick you up, get you to the site, do the same thing, pick you up after school, drop you off to the common point, and then go. So,
Is there any way they can cut across like that?
Grab the lot where the
I
parents
suggested a
grab
plank.
your home.
I suggested a plank.
Because they're gonna, I'm just
Build a
thinking, 'cause I think
footbridge.
they're gonna try, right?
Oh, they're gonna try and cross the stream, absolutely.
Yeah, that's.
They're gonna walk down the hill.
I mean, yeah, I think we need to be concerned about people going through Sleepy Hollow.
There is a path through Sleepy Hollow.
There's a path.
So, Chief of Police is aware of that. That'll be a monitoring event that we look at. I guarantee you, you're exactly right. People will do that exact same thing. But again, it's more of an enforcement thing.
The one, we are looking at posting a lot of Sleepy Hollow is no parking during the school days, just to cut back on the number of students or parents that are thinking they're gonna use Sleepy Hollow. And the other thing is we have the construction on Monroe Street going at the same time. We have Monroe and Silica, so there's gonna be some traffic restrictions whether you can go eastbound or westbound during part of it. So they may not want to get tangled up in that construction as well at the same time. So there's gonna be a lot of encouragement to use the busing system to make it the most efficient.
This presentation has audio to it. We posted it to our website. Mark has put this in his newsletter to all the Northview parents. So I have gotten a couple of questions here and there, so I know some parents are starting to look at it. I imagine the next couple of weeks we'll get a lot more questions that come in. But we're trying to do our best to get this message out to as many people as we can. That's kind of started today with the school.
Is our transportation system, or are they department on notice that they might get a big influx of students?
Yeah, I've met with Jim and Nish. So we talked about it before Christmas. So I think they're fully prepared. Yeah.
Drivers, do we have the drivers to do it?
Well, I don't think the high school buses are full, even with our non-publics, are they, in the morning?
They're not full.
No, but
I've
they
been
get
there.
stop
They're not.
signs.
No, I don't think we're gonna get any overcrowding or anything like that.
No, I'm looking
Just,
at the-
just in casual watching them come in every day and the number of kids that are leaving every afternoon.
What would concern me is the extra route that we would be adding to pick up the walkers at, because that's a new route that will require a bus and a driver.
Right.
If we have a gathering zone over at Maplewood and that bus has to, now, who's that person gonna be? If it's a van, 7 kids, but if it's a bus, even if it's 15 or 20, the good thing, the weather is great, but still, I just, it's an extra driver and a route.
Is it going to be transfers in the mornings?
Probably not. Pardon?
Transfers in the mornings?
Yeah.
Mark, we're meeting
It's personnel.
Thursday,
Yeah.
right, with some parents, is that right?
Yes, Thursday evening. We're gonna be at 6, I wanna say 6:30, somewhere in there, at the PAC. That's been communicated out to parents as well.
So the word is definitely getting out, probably starting this week, so.
So, is it a possibility, we could tell her, it may sound silly, to put a temporary bridge over the creek to allow students to walk?
Yeah, we've
I mean,
looked
is that
at,
too far-fetched?
yeah, we've looked at those options, it just was not feasible.
Because we were gonna put a parking lot down there at one point for the construction.
Right. We got about 9 walkers, I think, about 10 walkers that use that. Well, actually, there's more than that, I was talking about kids that go north of Maplewood, but.
So I feel like there's going to be a lot of parents trying to drop their kids everywhere they can.
And well,
So,
I mean, that waterway can get pretty, in the spring,
Sure.
pretty vicious. Like, I don't want
Canoe or
anybody trying to,
Okay.
I mean, it's,
Well, it goes over the banks,
Yeah.
right?
and it gets really fast moving and
You'll get kids dropped off on time then.
I mean, I would hate to try to put a plank up,
No,
because that would be
no,
terrible.
We'll drop them off.
We need to discourage anybody from trying to cross that.
I think patience is the key. This is gonna be a challenge, this is gonna be tough. And patience with everybody. I know we're gonna have, a lot to work through. But the biggest thing for us is anytime you work next to a creek, Greg knows this, you're at Mother Nature's, wrap. She comes through, we get a big 4-inch rain event, our guys are down for a week. So we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can on the front end of this job to try to keep things on schedule so that we have that bridge open for school and office.
Joe, and I appreciate your candidness. We know it's not gonna be a comfortable situation, and I know we can anticipate some emails.
Sure.
How would you like us to proceed if we get complaints or suggestions, or, because we don't, I'm not trying to pass the buck, I'm here to say what we need to say, but I also think if we come up with a parent suggestion, who do we talk to, what does that look like? Because I don't know necessarily, I've been fielding some calls that I go like, okay, we gotta talk to the city about that, but I'm going to bet for the first week, we're gonna get inundated. How would you like us to handle this?
Yeah, I would like everything to come through me if that's okay. I don't mind getting all the emails and stuff, and then I can consult with Mark, and if it's a school issue, we can take it that route. If it's more of a project issue, then obviously it's something I can handle, but I would prefer to have everything kind of run through me. That way I can stay on top of what everybody's needs are.
And that would be good for messaging, because I don't want, we are gonna say something and then you say something, or then we find out maybe 3 weeks in, oh, we have another opportunity, we can reroute something. I would just
So
wanna make sure that
basically,
communication is.
we get an email saying, hey, you guys are handling this all wrong, you want us to do like a reply and copy you and copy Mark and say, hey, thanks for your email, copy Joe from the city and Mark, and they can address your issues,
Because we don't want to professor, right, and we don't want people to think that we're not listening, and we want to partner with you in this endeavor, but I think we want to know how we can make sure we continue to communicate, because I expect we will get some emails.
Forward them to me.
That's awesome.
It's a good starting point, very good starting point.
I feel like we're hitting that like Ross from Friends, you know, I'm fine, it's gonna be fine.
The original bridge is from 1938, so this is 90 years coming, so we're here. It's just, we'll have to get
Always gonna be
everything.
an inconvenient time, no matter when.
No good times.
COVID time would have been great.
Oh, yeah, then there's that. That was-
Our
I think it
contact
started
information was in the
before that.
presentation. If you got any questions that you think of after the fact, by all means, get in touch with me. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mark, how much earlier are you gonna tell them to leave home? You're gonna give the kids a speech about leaving home early in the mornings?
Hey, I'm at the building by about 6 a.m., so I'm ready for anybody.
Okay, this
Thanks,
is
Mark.
Thank you.
our first opportunity for public participation for agenda items. And we
Everybody left.
We cleared the room.
Alrighty then.
So moving on, Mayor with you.
Thank you, Ms. Conlon. I recommend item 4.1, which is an addendum that we added today. It is a memorandum of understanding between the Savannah Education Association.
I don't know what it is either.
Regarding the employment of rehire educators.
I'll second.
Okay, any questions or comments? I have a question. Did we clear up the issue that you were concerned about earlier? Got it, I looked at it. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, call the roll.
Julie,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Thank you. I would like to recommend item 4.2. It is an agreement with Brandon Wood Educational Consulting for a period of March 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 through ESSER funds. And I would like to note that this particular agreement supports our strategic plan as we look to support our students under the social emotional supports and well-being.
Oh, all right, now is the Thursday.
Yes, it is under administrative content.
So if you log in, you can see it.
Yeah, I just, it's.
Yeah.
I'll just bring them up to you.
Do we have to do it?
No, I just don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I see it.
I think it's because you want to get it's on the draft.
Did you get it open?
I got a one. Did you find it, Joe? Can you see it all?
Yeah, I think same thing.
Hold on, I'll count.
You did too. Too much staring at the review work.
You're just thinking to do that.
There's eggs in
I
there.
am, I mean, I've got a kid who's driving that,
Yeah.
hopefully, because I don't want to go.
Right.
Jog off the corner of Silk and.
That's what I was thinking. You walk.
You know, I have friends that live right there at the corner of Silk and Convent. That's not crazy.
The people in the meadows are gonna be angry.
Okay,
There'll be a lot of people dropping off there too.
do we have a motion?
Oh, yeah, I've got it now.
Okay, I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Okay, so can you tell us what this is and why there's two?
Mr. Zero.
Yeah, so our social emotional well-being strategic planning committee consists of teachers, administrators, parents, counselors, psychologists, board member.
we created our goals last year and they were board approved for the strategic plan. And like we all said at the end of last year, now like the real work begins. It's great we came up with these goals. This is one that focuses on, I shouldn't say one is more important than the other 5 or 4, because we have 5 goals total, but this focuses on student wellness. Dr. Brandon Wood is a school psychologist at the University of Toledo. He has done work with Southview High School, working on their social emotional plan through grant funding last year. One of the big things we wanted to do as a district that we're not doing right now is, and call it post-COVID or not, I think it should happen if COVID didn't happen, or our committee, I don't want to say I, thinks this should happen post-COVID or not, is just a mental health screener on our students. Where are they at socially, emotionally, their overall mental health? We've had a couple of unfortunate circumstances in our district over the last 18 months with students where could that have been avoided if we knew where our students were mentally with their health. Contracting with Dr. Wood, he does work with Toledo Public Schools, he works with Swanton Schools, where he creates a screener, working with our social-emotional team, working with building administration, obviously getting parent consent to opt out if they don't want their children screened, but just a way for us to know as a district where our kids are, like I said, from a mental health standpoint, and then where we at least know, once that screener is completed, where our students are at a certain level, certain grade, certain building, and what we can do as a building and counseling staff, as well as, I think, equally as important, parents know. You know, Mr. Tyberski, we did a screener on your child today. Here are some alarming signs that your child stated on his screener where he or she is at mentally. And a parent then has an idea along with our administrative teams, counseling service, etc. So it's more than that. He is willing to work with us for 3 years. First year contract, which is there, it's $36,000 a year. The first year is $42,000 because he added an additional advanced screening data analysis where we break down this information. That can always be removed. First year is set up for the first contract because we're planning on using ESSER funds. Years 2 and 3 then would not be using ESSER funds. I've worked with, obviously, Adam to see how we can manage that through our budget, to implement him to work with our committees to do a general overall screening on the mental health of our kids.
Is that the second item on the agenda, or the next item?
The next item is the same thing, but it's the next, it'd be year 2 and 3.
It's the timing of when ESSER funds have to be spent by 24, so that's why we just thought it'd be cleaner to do it in 2 contracts, and the first one ESSER and the next one.
So the first year is covered by ESSER money, the second 2 are not.
But we're paying more, I mean, wouldn't it make sense that we're paying more when we're using the ESSER funds? It's like $2,500 a month, but then it's going to $3,000 when we're trying to figure out how we're paying.
Just because we're getting more months, isn't that
That's
reasonable?
based on 2 years rather than 1.
Yeah. No, it's like 18 months, right? Like we get access from, it's March through the following August, right? Or
Yeah, that's why, yeah.
Julie's saying the per month looks like it's $2,500 for the first contract, but then it's $3,000 per month for the second contract.
Yeah, that's
How come it's more per month?
It's
Because technically he isn't going to start until, it'd be like August 1 through July 31. But he's willing to start the work, kind of give us, what is it, 5 months at no cost because he wants to start March 1st, or we want to start sooner than later, so that's why it looks cheaper this year per
But
month.
it's including like summers and it's.
The second year is.
Yes, and it's $3,000 a month. You know, we don't even have students in school. I'm saying it's a bad idea. I'm just trying to understand, like if ESSER money's paying for it this year, just can't use ESSER money after 2024, wouldn't it make sense to like negotiate that for the $3,000 to be this year when it's ESSER money?
Yeah, but it's still, that would be still kind of like front loading it, like it would be prepaying for services, and you can't do that with us anyway.
I don't know why it would be if we just flipped it, it's 3,000 a month now, then 2,500 a month then. I mean, it's the same thing, you're
But
just.
the reason why it's 2,500 is because it's 36, I believe, I don't have the other one up, but it's basically 36,000 a year, right? And this is from March through June, which is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15,
extra
16
months.
months. There's extra months.
So you take that 36,000 divided by 16 months.
So then, what's he gonna be doing in June and July and August? I mean, yeah.
To be honest.
Or is it just we're paying for-
It's just we're paying a monthly fee for the 36,000.
But so he's charging 36 a year, period,
Correct.
but we're just making.
We're paying it monthly. I mean, we could pay him 36,000
Okay.
March 1, but the main reason for that is in the contract, we also have, like with any contract, and I don't foresee this happening, but we have an opt-out clause. So I don't want to pay him 36,000, get involved with this, March, April, May of this year and find out it's not going in the direction we want to go and say, oh, can we have our money back? Where at least we're doing it in monthly installments, we can end the contract, with a 90-day notice.
So it's 36,000 a year, all 3 years.
Correct.
A little bit more the first year because we're paying for a.
16 months.
We're paying an extra, yes,
Right.
6,500 first year based on, seeing if we want to include that 6,500 past that initial screening. But he built that in for the first year, we can always take that out. I think the other good piece with that is, our goal is to get through all 12 buildings, within our strategic 5-year plan. We wanted to have a screener set in place. Our goal is to have it done within 3 years. And I know this is just a verbal agreement, but he did tell, when he met with Melissa McDonald and I, as well as the rest of the committee, he said, I'm 36,000 a year. If we form this contract and form these relationships, I'll be 36,000 a year for as long as I'm with you. It's not like after 3 years, I'm gonna say, hey, due to inflation, I'm gonna bump up my price to $50,000 a year if you wanna continue this relationship with us,
So this assessment, is it going to be individualized, or is he gonna go in and give, personality, like tests, like fill out these forms,
Yeah.
or is he gonna sit down one-on-one with kids?
No, that's gonna be determined based on our strategic planning team, counselors, school psychologists, obviously building administrators.
So there could be referral type?
We're gonna screen, our initial thoughts are to start with the high schools. We're not gonna do like all of Southview High School in one day. It may be half of the 9th graders one week, the other half the second week. I do know in conversing with Swanton, I did some research there. When you do these screeners, you're gonna need to have some additional counseling support there. So not only would we use, I'll just continue to use Southview, if we do half the 9th grade class, sure they have their full counselors, but we may need Northview to go there on those days of that screening. But we don't want to just throw it all out there and say, okay, here's what we found, and then go from there. The big piece also is we need to address those issues if we do see them. So that's why we're going to break it down over 3 years with smaller groups.
So then what is the?
That's a great question.
MVP.
And that was part of our hang up with this is, okay, we do this screener with a group, a sample size, and we find out there's a large group of students that need some significant help. What do we have besides our school sites and our school counselors right now? And beyond healthcare and tackle in some of our buildings, what have you. We don't have all of those answers. We don't have all of those outside resources to take care of like a mass issue that we may see. But we've decided, at least as we continue to work on finding these resources to help our students, at least we know as a building, and I think equally important, like I said, the parents know. Right now, we don't know. We use examples where, this was brought up in one of our meetings, it was mine personally, and I'll share it here. I thought, and this is probably wishful thinking, those of you with older kids probably know this, I thought my daughter would be a sophomore in high school before she came home and stopped sitting down with me and talking about her day for an hour and a half. She's in 4th grade, and it's like, hey, how was school today? You might get a 10-minute conversation, and then she's on her own, doing her own things. Independence is set in a lot earlier than I thought, where I like to say I know what she's doing. I do know what she's doing. We know what she's doing when she's in her room drawing, painting, whatever, but what is going on up there? And this is a professional who we can bring in to work with our students at all levels to kind of bring out what could be going on with students in the building. So we determined as a committee, because we would know as a district, specifically the building, and parents could be notified if there's a significant need or a suicidal.
What level are you planning to notify parents? Like anxiety versus, I guess I'm just wondering how much parents are going to be told about these assessments?
Yeah.
If it's not obviously if it's a suicidal threat,
Yeah, absolutely.
But beyond that,
Absolutely know right away.
what are they?
I think that still needs to be determined. That's part of bringing him in to work with our committee and group, at what stages do we let parents know where their kids are at?
So
that is finalized.
is he just going to be doing the assessments, or is there other more?
Yeah, he's gonna be doing assessments. I think the big piece, or the one that I thought would be most beneficial for our district is he's looking to form a subcommittee, which is probably gonna be our strategic planning team, if not more people on it. But the big piece is a creation and oversight of district behavioral health advising committee. I don't want to volunteer or speak for everybody on our social emotional mental health team. I think a large portion, if not all of them, will be there. But just look at inclusive and internal and external, stakeholders where we can meet monthly to address the needs of our district.
So he's gonna help us implement?
He will help with that, yes. He also does work, and I know we use Tackle in some of our building. He does partner with them, specifically with TPS. If there's a way we can get RFS/Tackle additional behavioral health services, he does a lot of grant writing, assists districts with grant writing to help fund those sources as well.
Parental consent is going to be required for the
Absolutely.
screening.
It would probably be, and again, this is all to be determined, parental consent would be given, most likely an opt-out, and parents will see all the questions being asked in the screener ahead of time as well.
This is supposed to start March 1?
Yeah, in conversations with him, if we start now, our first screener probably, because of all the initial work we need to do, probably won't happen for another year, if not the spring of 2024.
So we won't even start screening until 2024?
Correct.
And all the initial work is basically what, building
Correct.
the plan?
Yes.
One of the important things we discussed, if you don't mind, Tim, is
Absolutely.
When we put this in place, we can't just put the assessment in place without a response team after to take care of whatever the findings are. So that's part of the work, is it not? That still needs to be done. We had him in a couple meetings, and I think he's really well versed in all this. I think it'll be an asset.
Okay, anybody else? All right, call the roll.
Kim,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Julie.
Yes.
Thank you. I recommend item 4.3, an agreement with Redwood Educational Consulting for the period of July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2036. 26. 36.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, real quick, you said he's got ideas or possible ways to fund this with grants going forward after the ESSER money?
Yes, but I think that grant funding would be more for some responsive services that we want to bring in. I'm sure there is potential to do grant. If he's going to have the opportunity to present grants to us, we could use that funding for what we wanted. That would also include the service. So we make that decision, not him. So,
Okay.
Okay, anyone else? Call the roll.
Julie,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Kim.
Yes. Okay, we have Josh.
I am recommending items 5.1 through 5.4 on a consent agenda basis. 5.1 is the appointment of Matt Hostler as Administrative Secretary to the Treasurer. 5.2 is licensed extra duty. 5.3, are licensed unpaid leaves of absences. And 5.4 are licensed substitute teachers.
Can you pull 5.2 out of that?
Katie's on there.
Katie's on
Yes, so I will re-recommend item 5.2 as a standalone item as licensed extra duty.
So I'll make a motion to approve items 5.1, 5.3, and 5.4 on a consent agenda basis.
Sure.
there. A second.
Any comments? Okay, call the roll.
Julie,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Jill.
Yes.
I will recommend item 5.2 standalone as licensed extra duty.
Move for approval.
Questions? Call the roll.
Jill,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Julie.
Abstain.
Thank you. I will recommend items 6.1 through 6.4 on a consent agenda basis. 6.1 are classified new hires. 6.2 is a classified resignation. 6.3 is a classified retirement. That's publicly thank Cynthia Reyna, 28 years of service to the district. And 6.4 are classified personnel changes.
I move approval on a consent agenda basis, items 6.1 through 6.4.
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Julie,
Yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Jill.
Yes.
Thank you. I will recommend items 7.1 and 7.2 on a consent agenda basis. 7.1 are athletic volunteers for the 22-23 school year, and 7.2 are supplemental positions for the 22-23 school year.
Move approval on a consent agenda basis, items 7.1 and 7.2.
I'll second.
Questions?
Hey, what is a finance director?
And that's my favorite. So each building has a supplemental finance director. So what happens is all of your clubs that have purpose and budget statements and are ending and making.
Yes.
But they basically come in the morning, they'll go through all of the deposits for the day, check all the checks, make sure everything matches up, bank bag it up, send it off, and then keep track of all that.
They literally have to deposit within 24
Yeah.
hours, it's their job to.
Check, make sure.
Didn't remember seeing that before.
Yeah, that's normal?
Yes.
All
These
yes.
are
I remember seeing that.
long-standing supplementals.
Long-standing. The reason it's split here is because we have someone that was on leave, so they're not gonna be able to do it 100%. So we are prorating that supplemental based on weeks within the school system or school year. But yeah, it's long-standing, each one.
I remember
Okay.
seeing it.
Yeah, yeah. Not split or hold or.
Yeah.
That's been around.
Yeah.
Ready?
Okay, call the roll.
Tammy,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Greg.
Yes.
Okay, we are now at the board committee reports. Start with you, Julie.
We had a Somalia Prevention Alliance meeting. I know that Connie White and Tori Daggett, who work there, were talking with Melissa about doing some vaping education classes for like first-time offenders. They're real concerned about not being punitive, they don't punish anybody, but, you know, we have first-time offenders who get taught vaping, so, you know, give some education, which is something Somalia Prevention Alliance does, so, you know, they're working with Melissa McDonald on that. Golf Scrambles August 25th at the Legacy, you know, try to get your team. The Hot Cocoa Run is going up February 25th at Olander, for all of you runners. And
You're gonna be there, right?
And walkers, oh, yeah, I'm all
Yeah.
walkers.
Yeah. I'm on with you.
Yeah, okay. And they had the Film Festival a few months ago, which was hugely successful, so they're already planning for the next Youth Film Festival, probably in September.
Can I ask a question about that? So, probably from Tim, you brought up the vaping thing, which made me think of that. How are the vaping sensors working that we got in the schools? Are they?
Initially, they worked very well.
So the kids figured it out.
Until the kids figured it out. From what I've talking to Casey and Mark, that first couple weeks, there were a lot of them that were caught. We do worry that kids are just kind of trying to do it in different places now. They're smart, but it does do at least deters them from certain areas of the building not to do it. But it also gives their ability, Casey did say this, it gives his staff the opportunity to know not to have to stand outside these two restrooms. We can go to other ones and divide and conquer on how we wanted to address it. Junior highs are working on it as well. I don't know if you're going to say that, Dr. Miley, or not, but they are in the process of getting established. Hopefully, I don't know if we'll have them done this year unless we create a lot of work over spring break, but most likely to start next year. Junior highs as well.
It's funny, I was at Northview, like, over Pippin, and I was in the restroom, and there was a parent in there vaping, and I was like, I know you're setting off an alarm right now. She was like, what? And I was like, yes, you're setting off an alarm, and there's cameras. They're gonna see me walk out of here, number one, and you. And she's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, so please stop vaping in the school bathroom. Okay.
I think that was, wasn't that Casey's?
Can we get that camera footage?
Stand shows law was that we have students that were not vapers that were afraid to use restrooms.
Yes.
So
That was a big,
it's working for that.
That's good,
Yeah,
yep.
so not the adults, they're in there vaping. I was like, you do know there's like an alarm. She's like, what? Very amusing.
I would like to add that we had a meeting with our athletic directors about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks, time flies, and they actually have asked for Northview and Southview that we explore education classes for students who are vaping. It's an educational piece to deter it, especially for student athletes who are getting dinged, and they don't think they're going to get dinged, and it has consequences if it's the second time. And so can we educate them, and really starting as early as the junior high as well, because we do have kids vaping in junior high, and they are getting caught. But educating them, not just the harm, but also the effects on what it does for your athletic or school career. So they have asked for us to explore that. So I'm glad that SPA wants to do that. So we need to bring them into.
They're working with Melissa McDonald. Well, they're working with Melissa McDonald, I'm sure. They're all about the
Jim would love
education,
to.
and they have great programs.
Okay. I will make sure they all connect, because I don't know if Melissa knows that.
I
our
know
athletic directors
one
do
of
that.
the topics of conversation was, what they really want to do is do with the students, but also their parents.
Yes.
Like have an educational aspect to educate the parents.
So that they know, and they can help intervene.
So I had a Save Yard meeting right after our last meeting. That was just the first organizational meeting of the year, so there wasn't much there. I went to the Sylvania CIC meeting. They talked about possible upcoming development on Central Avenue, out by Christie, I guess. I'm not sure what that is yet, or if that's gonna have any
Housing development.
impact to schools.
It will.
Yep. They talked about a calendar, a Yodel calendar. I don't know if
Yep.
you're up to speed on that.
I am. It's a
Okay.
community calendar that's electronic that would allow community organizations to upload in a one-stop shop that acts in real time. And it will be a Yodel calendar, and we can also put our school events into that calendar, so you can just kind of log in and say, things happening near me in Sylvania, or for this date, or this, and it will just generate a list and pull from all the members that are in the chamber. So businesses, organizations, school district, it's kind of like the old town planner on steroids. But you can have an app for it on your phone and access all types of community events around the area, but more, so the chamber is looking to do it in order to highlight community businesses and the events that they may be putting on locally.
And then on the 6th, I went to a meeting at the city about all this road work that's going on, and Joe touched on the Silica Bridge. This meeting I went to, we specifically talked about the 23 Monroe Street interchange that's going to be done in 25 and 26. They went through a bunch of different options as far as, how to do the construction, lane closures, that kind of thing. And I think we settled on, or it's going to be settled on, I believe, closing the bridge altogether over the interstate. They said that would be the least impact to the schools, because I think they said it would, they would close, full closure would be 4 months. So if they did a full closure of the bridge, the construction would take 4 months. If they did partial closures, the construction would take 8 months. So So they can cut the construction in half. Obviously, it's full closure, it'd be from April to August, so it would affect the schools, end of the school year in '26. And hopefully we'll be back over by the time school starts. So that's coming, that'll be fun. And that's it, that's all I have.
Greg, you know what timeline I'm sure that's Joe, I don't think it had a huge impact at the same time as Northview's Silicon Bridge. Roundabout Mitchell Centennial. Do you know what timeline when that started?
I do not, I believe it's a county project.
Something was on Brent,
Don't
wasn't it?
know.
Oh, that they're gonna do
It's a
some
township project too.
Brent,
Brent.
Yeah, Brent
Centennial.
Centennial, yes.
Yeah.
I know they've got it
Traffic
taped off
circle.
and they're clearing, and I know that's south and west of
Yeah,
the
but
North
it
View
didn't,
entrance, but it could at the same time.
They're into
I seem to recall in that first presentation they gave us,
They told like.
it was basically, we're doing this at the same time, so there's gonna be a big, the detour was gonna be larger than necessary, than we would expect because of that, but he didn't really get into that tonight, so.
No.
The email I sent out in the fall, I kept it on the website, it's under community road construction. And that had several of the projects happening, I don't know if it was that one specifically, but it was the 12-minute one that had a whole lot that went throughout the summer.
Yeah.
And I think Brent Mitchell is also, for Brent and Centennial, that's also township, right?
That is,
South
that's
City.
in East, that's why.
That's a county
Township,
project.
No county project.
I think they're doing that at the same time. I think the city is going to resurface Brent at the same time, I believe.
Okay.
That's a
Just
city
one
project,
right,
and
and
then
then
the
the
roundabout's a
the
county
roundabout
project.
is county, not township.
We're gonna turn into survivalists and just.
Shall be horses.
Take the horse to the.
Move to Florida for 3
Yeah.
months.
Right,
Wow.
that's all I
It's
got.
not how we're gonna cross that corner.
Okay. Jill?
Yes, I did. SCS, there's been no meetings since our last board meeting, so I have nothing there. I have attended just this past Saturday. Yeah. A 6.5 hour personal development from OSBA Board 201 at Deeper Dive. And the topics they covered were collaborative leadership, legislative topics, board policy, hot topics, ethics for board leaders, and board meeting challenges. It was actually a very informative presentation. If I had to move out of my home office, I just carried my laptop with me so I could keep watching. But it was good, very good, and well worth the time. I also attended the public forum, Safe Routes to School. That was poorly attended, unfortunately, by the public. And Kim and I both, with Dr. Motley, had a meeting, and Ray, had a meeting with, help me out with the name from OSBA.
Doug Palmer.
Yeah, Doug Palmer.
Yeah. We talked about payment in lieu of, and Kim and I can, I guess, kind of tag team the highlights of this.
Yeah, it was basically, there was a lot of speculation as to whether we could solve some of our transportation woes if we just did more payment in lieu. So he came to kind of, and met with Joe and looked at everything, and basically the answer is no. And here's why, because it is, we could there's no more schools that we can cut off and get away with, because there's a very particular formula you have to follow before you can say we're forcing this into payment in lieu. And so we don't have any of those schools available. We could do voluntary payment in lieu. The problem is that, let's say you offer that to a school like Maumee Valley Country Day, and everybody takes it but one person. And then you still gotta transport that one person. And there's no way of knowing until you offer it. And then the other thing is that the way we've got the routing right now is that we're also transporting, the Maumee Valley Country Day is coupled with the Northwest Ohio Classical Academy, and I think another one perhaps. So, and they looked at kind of everywhere we're transporting, and there's just not a place where payment in lieu makes sense. So we kind of talked about what does make sense, and as we get our transportation consultation, we may get some other ideas, but I mean, the only real thing that nobody's really tried is just paying them a heck of a lot more, and then there's that cascading effect of having to pay everybody a heck of a lot more. So, the bottom line was payment in lieu is not an option.
Just to add to that, again, Kim alluded to this too, that you can't control who is gonna take that. So you may have, more people opting into that, but you still have perhaps less people, but you still gotta run that route.
Yeah, I mean, it only makes sense if,
So it doesn't help with.
if it eliminates a route.
drivers.
And, yeah, nothing we do can guarantee the elimination of the route. So, it's not really a viable option right now. So, yeah.
I did provide 2 resources, or a few resources from that meeting as well, and sent it to give you copies instead of.
Did they go over what, I mean, because I know we have to declare in practical, and then,
Well,
and the factors.
Well, yeah,
I
two
thought that some of
declarative.
those schools would, I mean, would be, I know that there's a lot of factors, but some of them would fit into because of their distance from us and our transportation issues. And I'm not suggesting
Well,
that we do, but.
and I ask that is, I mean, really, it all comes down to the cost. In order to declare them impractical, you've got to meet these factors, and it's all about money. So I ask the question, okay, well, what is the state of Ohio and the Department of Ed saying about the fact that we don't have drivers? I mean, we may have the money to hire the drivers, but we don't have the drivers. So it is impractical, but that's not a factor yet. They don't care that we don't have drivers. And
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
He did list 6 criteria that have to be considered to do this, and that's 1, eligibility. 2, time and distance. 3, the number of students to transport. 4, the cost of general ed only, not the cost of special ed. I wouldn't involve that, correct?
Right.
All right. And 5, the number of buses, and 6, the number of students. So there's a lot of there's at least 6 criteria to
number of
consider.
bus drivers isn't one of them.
Right.
And
So
so
it looks
what,
like there's 6, but they're saying that the schools that we have wouldn't qualify. I'm not saying that we wouldn't have to go through a process, but they're saying, like the
Yes.
stepmom are saying, you can't do it for these schools?
that none of the schools that we currently are transporting to,
Probably none of them are over 30 minutes.
right, it's not, it's about time.
I don't think it's.
And it's also about cost,
They're over 30 minutes.
and because it has to do with how many kids. So the more kids you're transporting, the less the least amount it costs per kid. So if we're transporting 30 kids out to Harmony Valley, and I don't know what we are,
I don't.
but whatever number it
That's a
is,
small number, even coupled with other schools, that's what I'm saying,
Well,
because it
we-
doesn't say 30 minutes.
but it does add to, it's about the route, how much does that route cost? So you are factoring in, if we're putting Maumee Valley Country Day, Northwest Ohio Classical, and I think there was another one on there. I want to say it's either Jesu or not Jesu.
St. Benedict.
St. Just, no, not St. Benedict. No, there was one that's over there, so that makes me think St. Joan or something.
But isn't it true though that we don't have to find every one of these factors, it's just like, because one of them is whether and to what extent the additional service unavoidably disrupts current transportation schedules, and that is an issue that we do have, or that we have had. So, certainly some of these factors are fully on our side for saying that transportation is incorrect.
Well, one of the recommendations he said that we would almost have to consider is splitting the bell schedule. And his recommendation was middle school first, high school second, elementary third, in terms of start times.
Well, that's what he is,
That's his suggestion.
he wasn't recommending that for Spading schools. That is what he has recommended to some
Right.
schools.
Smaller districts.
Definitely, smaller districts that he's been working with, and that has helped with the routing when there's less drivers. And he mentioned that, but he's in no way saying, I looked at that in Spading schools.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Justice, no, it's just that was something,
Well,
but that's probably not.
and one of the
something we
big,
can do.
one of the big things he's lobbying too is really pushing for the non-publics to to provide their own transportation. And that he's going around meeting with representatives from the non-publics, talking to them, the benefits, how you can do it, the logistics, how you can partner with the school district. And so that's one of the things he's pushing, that, his whole agenda was, it makes sense for you to take your own transportation on and get that funding. I mean, you're gonna get paid. But I'm not gonna opine as to how.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just,
No,
he's saying that you guys don't have any schools you could.
Yeah, he was very clear on that.
I don't agree with him on that, not based on the statute.
Well,
And that's why I'm wondering
so,
what I missed.
because what you missed is he has a spreadsheet, okay? And it's a formula.
I don't like spreadsheets.
There's math involved, okay? And he plugs it in, and and none of the schools that we're currently, they fall into the number category, and you're just not gonna get away with it without that cost factor, is what he's saying. And aside from that, even if there was a school, he's still saying that it's not gonna clear a route for us because it wouldn't clear all the schools on that route.
Right. Unless we cleared all the schools on that route, correct? And I'm not suggesting that we do, but I'm just saying, I can't believe you would say, because, I mean, you and I both know, I think you are arguing this in court because, and people have fought us on it before, when we tried to say, hey, that's impractical for us to drive 45 minutes to get here, to get 3 kids to school, and,
Right.
it's not big, it's not really numbers at that point, is it impractical based on the statute?
Well, and I think that if we were talking about 3 kids on a bus right now, we could clear that, but we don't have that situation right now. Based on the numbers that we have now, where we're going,
The ones that they just signed.
there's no school that he believes we could get away with by declaring it practical.
And I'm not even sure that.
It was a spreadsheet.
Yeah, spreadsheet.
It was a spreadsheet.
I've been trying to use a spreadsheet in court, but I think it really works.
Anyone that backs information with a spreadsheet, it's always.
I'm not gonna think that they're trying to just like razzle dazzle their way out. I look at a spreadsheet, it must be right. I don't think so.
It worked.
It did work, but I didn't see the spreadsheet, so it did not work on me. Just like.
I mean, based on my very limited experience with payment in lieu, I would, tend to, fall in line with what Kim had mentioned, but, I wasn't at the meeting, so.
I mean, I feel like, and here's the thing, and Jim was there, and we all know Jim's not a fan.
Jim wants to bring it all back. Jim doesn't like the baby little.
I mean, but, and I looked at him point blank and asked him, I mean, will this save us, could we save routes this way? And, I mean, it's not there.
It just doesn't logically make sense.
Why?
I mean, if there's, I don't know if I'm not looking at the spreadsheet, right? But if this bus is going to, I don't know, Northwest Classical Academy and Maumee Valley, and we're like, that's impractical. We can't keep doing that based on these other factors. We just saved a bus or two, right? A bus. So we got that driver and that bus back. How would we not be getting, how would we not?
Well, sure, that would save us, if we could qualify for the
Right.
not practical, that would definitely save us a route. But what they're telling me is that we can't make that case right now with these schools.
One of the other caveats that he shared with us is like, let's say right now we have, throwing out a number, we have an X private school that has 66 students taking a bus. And everybody else is driving their students just because they drive their students to school. What we would do is potentially, we would offer payment in lieu of to those 66 students who were riding the bus, but everybody else in that entire school that would live in our community would be entitled to payment in lieu of.
And I don't think.
So it's not the 66 families.
Yeah, and I get
I've been
that.
taking my kid to school for the last 3 years. Now, I didn't know I couldn't get paid, so that's an extra expense.
Yeah, and I hear that, I mean, when you're talking those kind of numbers. I don't think we've ever had that issue here. There are, you saw
Oh,
this
yeah.
because we were precedent.
Yeah.
That, and there are many more kids going to those schools that parents didn't do that. So, and I'm not saying when we have that, I don't know, just, I've been in a school where we have a lot of people going, but I don't tend to think people, they've always been doing it, I think they've been doing it for knowledge.
I think it's more like 15, is it 15, 1,800?
It went up that much. It used to be like 350. I mean, I know it went up,
I think I wrote it down.
like this last year it went up.
So that 50% of the current rate,
Yeah, 'cause it used to be.
like 1057 per student, 1057 per student.
You're right, $1,057 per
Yeah, I
student.
mean, that's.
Yeah.
So if you have a family of 3 kiddos. For everyone.
The take-home message was, it's just a 5 minute course.
Anything else? Tammy, do you have anything?
Yeah, sorry, been a long meeting. I was taking my obligations, my responsibilities as a legislative liaison seriously and looked to see what was new this year. So there were 3 new Senate bills pending in the Ohio House since the beginning of the year. They're kind of interesting. The first one you probably already heard of. It's the legislation to try to change the Department of Education to the Department of Education and Workforce Development. I think everyone's probably familiar with that, so I don't want to belabor it. But there were 2 others. Senate Bill 14 is legislation that was just proposed to allow veterans without teaching licenses to teach in Ohio schools. In fact, I don't even think they have to have a degree.
Get a bachelor's degree?
They would have to have 60 credit hours, college credit hours, and a letter from their commanding officer that they're a good teacher, or some similar. And I actually reached out to Dan to ask if the OEA had taken a position on that, but he didn't know yet. So I thought that was an interesting piece of legislation. That hasn't, the first hearing on that is tomorrow. And then there's another piece of legislation that was just introduced called Red Days, Religious Expression Days, which would require, the first one, the one with the veterans as teachers would allow it, but doesn't require it. This one's required. Would require districts to offer 3 paid days to all employees for religious expression and basically any holiday that you want to take off, you get 3 days for that, religious holidays. And also the same for students. So, and that
Can they
first
be
hearing on that is tomorrow.
existing
also.
holidays, or they can just pick one?
They can, if,
You can make up,
Like make up.
make it their own.
it has to be a validly held religious belief or truly held religious belief, but I don't think, you have to take it on its, the way the legislation is written right now, you would have to take it on its face. There's really no disputing it. I do think that there was something in there that said that the students would have to let the school know by the 14th day of the school year which days they were taking, so it can't be like I have a test tomorrow. And, you know, it's a, yeah. But it's kind of interesting. So those are both pending with first hearings tomorrow in the Education Committee. So I'll keep looking and keep you posted. It's kind of fun.
All I have is we had an, in addition to transportation meeting, we had an SSPO meeting this month. And it was a good meeting. It was for all the department heads, kind of answered some questions that Inga had given everyone, and I thought it was a good informative meeting. What is do you remember what the next meeting is?
Third.
I know, month, the topic.
Third Friday. Oh, the topic?
Yeah, the topic. Is diversity?
It's diversity.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's all I have. Okay. With that, I think we are ready. Can we get a motion to close this bad boy up?
Going to
Executive.
session?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm moving going to the.
No, we haven't done
executive
public comment, have we?
Oh, yeah, sorry. This is for public comment on items that are not on the agenda, or public comment for non-agenda items. There are none, so now I move that we go into executive session for the purpose of
Negotiations and employment of public personnel.
Second.
comments. Call the roll.
Kim, you first.
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Yeah, we are not going to take action after executive session.